Hi.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
It's us.
The most
We're
awkward
back.
intro.
Oh, my God.
We're here doing some more recordings. And we've got a pretty awesome one. We got some more viewer submissions. This is what, our third episode for viewer submissions?
Yeah, but we got to talk about important stuff here, Britton. We
All
got to
right.
talk about the beer, okay?
Oh, the beer we're drinking. What do we got, Cleet?
Well, it's from Belching Beaver,
Hell yeah. I mean, the can's pretty legit.
and it's called Phantom Bride.
Ooh. Belching Beaver Phantom Bride.
Tastes pretty good.
It's pretty amazing. So if you want to try it, get it. But hey, Belching Beaver, we are...
Sponsorship time.
Sponsorship. We're back to talk about some more viewer submissions, and we have quite a few. You guys have been doing an awesome job sending your stuff in. And, yeah, I'm pretty excited to talk about it this week. But a couple things I wanted to point out. If you follow us on Facebook, you saw our post. We hit 1,000 listens this week. Clete, how do you feel about that?
Wow, we're really something.
We're like famous now.
Yeah,
We're up there.
yeah.
1,000 listens.
It's gone to my head.
Clete's not the same guy.
He's a dick now.
I was trying to like set a time to come over and record, and he's like, "You got to go through my agent, man." It was just a whole different experience. I didn't know what to do. I mean, Clete just thinks that he's like the bee's knees now.
I really am.
But you know, Clete, something happened to you this week. Do you want to share it?
Oh, yeah. The blood rained.
The blood.
It
rain.
rained blood.
Okay, that's fair. That's a better way to say it.
Yeah, I was working from home, and I guess that can be dangerous. Apparently, working
Yeah.
from home.
I think
And,
you've hurt yourself more at home than you ever did at work.
Oh yeah, I ended up kicking a shear,
What
and
kind
I,
of shear? Like a
like a gardening shear, and it was sharp.
big ass
you know?
gardening shear?
Yeah, it was huge. I kicked it with my middle toe, little fu,
That's good.
and then I bled everywhere. It was really bad.
So don't kick gardening shears is the moral of this story.
Yeah, my tenant told me that she just heard a big fall, and then I was cursing, saying the F word over and over again. She came up to see if I was okay. Thank God. I didn't know what to do. There's blood all over my kitchen. I sent you a picture.
You did the right thing. You did the right thing. You sat there and you swore at it. That just fixes everything.
It helps with the pain. I swear to God it does.
Well, I mean, it looks like you were already like halfway through your toe, so you might as well just chop the rest of it off, man.
I need my middle finger on my
Your middle
toes
toe.
and hands.
That's disgusting. Well, I'm glad you're okay. Cleet called me after he did it, and I think he was in shock because all he said was, "I cut myself. There's a lot of blood everywhere." I don't know how to respond.
Cleet, are you sad?
Are you all right? he didn't tell me what had happened. He's just like, "I cut myself. There's blood everywhere. I gotta go." I'm like,
I feel things. Bad things.
another thing, Cleet, I have a request.
Yeah.
I need you to say "walk out balcony."
Walk out balcony. Walk out balcony. I can't do it, man. Walk out balcony.
There you go.
Yeah,
That was
it's
good.
not hard.
If you're wondering why it was a request, if you didn't hear our last episode, you should check it out. Cleet had some hard time saying that. But anyway, back to the topic at hand, some viewer submissions.
Yeah.
What is yours that you're talking about?
I'm going over the lake, Bodom murders. Yeah.
Bodom, Bodom,
Bodom. I think Lil
Bodom.
Wayne sang about those murders.
No! Yeah! No!
We solved the case. It was Lil Wayne.
Oh,
It's
Lake
in the
Bodom
lyrics.
Murders. And this one, that was actually a submission from my Aunt Juliet, which is actually really cool.
Yeah.
She's my right-hand man when it comes to horror stuff. Like, we watch horror movies all the time, into horror collectibles and stuff, so shout out to you, Juge.
She seems pretty cool.
She's pretty amazing. And I am going to be talking about a mysterious murder scene that is one of the most gruesome unsolved crimes in German history.
Oh, damn. Wow. That is
We
a hell of an editorialization.
Right? It's called the Hinterkaifeck murders.
Ooh.
Hinterkaifeck.
All right. So let's jump into it. The Lake Bodom murders.
Let's.
It's a classic case of whodunit. Did you do it?
I like the whodunits.
Whodunit. Let's set the scene. This happened in Finland, June 5th, when 4 teenagers decide to go camping at Lake Bodom.
That is the typical horror movie starting.
I know, right? It's like Friday the 13th.
Oh, this inspired Friday the 13th.
I really wish there was a suspect named Jason Voorhees. That would have been really cool.
Or just JV for short.
JV.
See, but I think that you got 4 teenagers. You're just setting the precedence for drinking, drugs, and lots of sex.
Yeah, 10 years or 10 movies were made after this. I mean, it's crazy.
At least 10.
Yeah. So, camping. They were looking to go fishing, drinking, maybe puking afterwards if they can't hold their liquor, and camping for the night. So, of the 4 people, there were 2 gals, both age of 15. We have Malia and Anja. They were accompanied by their boyfriends, whom were 18.
Oh, no.
That to me kind of made me feel a little gross, but maybe that's a cultural thing. Like,
what, just the age 18 made you feel
they're dating 15-year-olds. That's kind of weird, at least for American standards.
I was going to say, age of consent is different all over the world. Does it have a date on this, like a year?
Yeah, it happened in 1960.
So it's inspired Friday the 13th, but it happened on June 5th.
Yeah. Well, that could have been a Friday.
Friday the 5th in Finland.
Yeah, Finland.
But yeah, I don't know. The age of consent could be different. I don't know. I hope it's older than 15. I hope to God it's older than 15, but hey, we'll see.
So the men were named Seppo and Niels. So their day starts out normally. They hop on their motorbikes. They got 2 motorbikes. I mean, that's really cool. They drive up to the campfire. At midnight, while the fire dies down, all 4 go to their tent to get some peaceful, undisturbed sleep.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened in that tent. Peaceful, undisturbed sleep.
Yeah,
everyone
you're right.
In their own sleeping
I lied.
bags.
I lied.
Oh, it was a joke. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way that's how this is going, Cleet.
So at 4 a.m., someone had come to their tent and cut the supports, so their tent deflated. I've always had a fear doing that when I'm camping,
Just like the tent falling down on you?
Yeah. Yeah, like, because that's like the most vulnerable position to me, Then some unknown perpetrator slashes the tent with a knife and starts hitting indiscriminately the bejesus out of these campers with a blunt object.
Oh.
I said bejesus. There it is.
There it is.
I don't think I did that last episode. I was really upset.
So it's not the typical big old serrated knife that Jason Voorhees has.
Yeah, no, it was just it was a little knife. There was no hockey man there. Yeah. So.
It says a blunt object.
A blunt object. Could have been a lead pipe. Some people
club.
speculate. Could have been a bat, a baton. Nobody knows.
Could have been a severed leg. You never know.
Could have been a severed leg.
Is this the new thing you can't say?
Yeah. Yep. I don't work. When authorities found the tent, they found Neil's body on top of it and Seppo and Anya inside the tent. Seppo succumbed to his puncture wounds to his right lung, and Anya's death was caused by a fracture in her skull. Malia was found outside the tent topless and also died of a fractured skull. There's 15 stab wounds in her neck. 3...
15?
Yeah, isn't that nuts, dude? That's insane.
Oh.
Yeah, she probably had the worst death because it doesn't stop there.
I mean, the thing is like, that's just overkill. You don't need 15.
No, that's a violent person. Like, you have to be a bad person to do that. I mean, just to stab someone, but 15 times, and then 3 stabbed 3 times in the face.
Oh. Okay.
And I didn't get a lot of information on this. I was looking for it, but she had a lot of damage to her hands and fingers. So I just assumed like they were just all busted
just mutilated.
Up. She probably had the worst death out of the 3.
So I would think to believe, I'm not a detective here, but I would think that she got the worst of it maybe for like a crime of passion or something. Like she was the main target.
I heard some speculation that she was raped, which is sad.
Oh, God.
And I think there was some type of DNA evidence on her. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Kind of sad.
I'm just saying, but so the other girl was in the tent still with a fractured skull.
Yeah.
The one guy had a puncture in his lung. Mm-hmm. The other guy's on top of the tent, and she is stabbed 15 times in the neck, 3 in the face, fractured skull, and had been, that's awful. Like I would think that she was the suspect. That's disgusting.
Or she was the intended victim.
Exactly.
So Niels was on the tent. Perfectly, fine. I mean, he wasn't fine. He had a fractured skull, and he had a knife and baton in his hands. I'm just fucking with you.
I was like, wait, so he did it.
Case closed.
It was that guy.
I'm kidding.
Quit fucking with me, Cleve.
Yeah, my bad. So just to go into his injuries, he had multiple fractures on his face, a deep wound on his cheek, and is suffering from a clear concussion.
But he was the only one who survived.
Yeah, barely. I mean, he was out.
If you can call that surviving, I guess.
So I think the most frustrating part of this case is just how many police errors were made. I would actually say the reason why they didn't solve this case is because of the police just being negligent. One blunder that was made by the police was the townsfolk were so shocked by the brutality of these murders that they took it upon themselves to help the police. So they combed the campsite looking for clues, but as we all know, I mean, that contaminates the actual campsite.
Yeah, you're just muddling the evidence at this point.
Some people even speculate that that the murderer could have showed up there as a helper and covered up his tracks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, literally, because he's like, oh, I was just there helping out with this whole thing. I was just getting in the midst of it. Like, that's the perfect getaway, dude.
All right. You always hear about murderers, right?
Visiting their crime scenes afterward.
Yeah, exactly. So the police discover that some strange items were stolen. So all their wallets were gone. All right, fair. Anja's towel was stolen.
Her towel?
Yeah, because they're swimming at the lake, Seppa's shirt, Neil's tote bag, and pliers were taken as well.
Pliers.
Yeah, maybe that's how she effed up her hand, dude. Ooh, I didn't think about that till
God.
now. Also, the motorcycle keys were taken. So, again, I was trying to think of, why they would take that. Outside of, the motorcycle keys, maybe he just wanted to make sure, they couldn't, drive to safety, that they would succumb to their injuries because they couldn't get up or something. The other things I could think of is, maybe he took them as trophies,
Yeah.
That's a
common...
serial killers do that a lot.
Yeah.
They also found Neil's bloody shoes 500 yards by the road, partially buried. So that's even weirder.
Partially buried.
Yeah, so he started digging a hole and putting bloody shoes in there.
So obviously he's trying to escape the scene in a hurry. So you said serial killer. So this person or persons, I'm going to say it could be multiple, killed 3 people. So this makes him a serial killer, yeah? Is there a number attached to the fact of being a serial killer?
Well, yeah, you got to kill more than once. I guess if you do a group thing, you could be a serial killer.
So in the same group, it has to be several instances, or so in this case, he killed 3. Could you classify him as a serial killer?
I always felt like the definition of a serial killer is just killing in different events.
Okay.
But the reason why I said serial killer is because there's one suspect that was thought to have done other murders in the area. And
sorry to steal your thunder.
No, you're fine. I think that he could have been a serial killer that did it, and we'll jump into that later. So there were plenty of witnesses coming forward telling the police that they saw something that night, but it never gave them any compelling leads. Niels, the only survivor of the massacre, said he had no memory of what happened, which is so irritating. It's because of the concussion.
Well, yeah,
apparently...
and his skull's fucking fractured.
Yeah, it's just, it's so damn frustrating. But what they do, it's kind of interesting, is they put him under hypnosis.
Yeah.
I don't know if people still do that today, but
well, what was I covered that. What episode was it where they talked? Oh, it was the Hills that got abducted the first time. They put them under they put them under
hypnosis.
They put them under hypnosis because they think that it calls upon other memories.
Well, you can delve into the unconscious memory,
right?
Things that cannot be pulled up to the conscious. They're just under it. So during this hypnosis, he recalls hearing one of the girls screaming while someone was hitting their tent. He tried to climb out of the tent, but got promptly hit in his head. So that sucks, right? Because it's deflated. He describes seeing someone between the ages of 20 to 30 years old, around 5'8", again, not narrowing it down, and a round face.
That could be all of America.
He gets a little bit more specific, but it is pretty generic.
He's 20 to 30. He's 5'8",
male or female,
and he's got a round face. Go find him. Okay.
He said that he had long, light blonde hair, ears were ordinary, and earlobes were round.
I don't know what an ordinary ear looks like.
I don't know either.
Compared to an unordinary ear?
This is just
or
in the police
an
report.
Extraordinary ear?
Said his forehead was high and wrinkly with horizontal lines. His nose was straight from all sides, not long or short.
Oh. See, I bet those sketch artists can make something of this, though. Those guys are incredible.
Yeah, I'm actually going to show you a picture.
Oh!
His eyes were long, but didn't know the color. Lips were thick.
I'm trying to picture this.
Let me show you a picture because it's really creepy.
I'm assuming you're going to put this on the YouTube video.
Yes, I'm going to put this on the YouTube.
So if you want to know what this guy looks like, check it out on YouTube.
So,
because it's
how's that guy look for you?
Oh,
doesn't seem like he could be real, right?
I mean, I don't know. It's not. as unreal as I thought it was
Look
when you
at
were
this one.
describing
Like,
it.
that is a big forehead.
Hey, man, you got a pretty big forehead yourself, bro.
Hey, hair loss. It's a real thing. You hurt me.
See, for me, I have no forehead. We're like opposite spectrums.
So when I first looked at it, I'm like, this guy can't be real. I mean, he looks like a caricature of what like somebody looks like.
Right.
However, there is some interesting photo evidence of a man attending every one of these people's funerals that matches the description. So I'm going to pull up that picture for you.
Oh.
Again, this will be on YouTube. Look at that guy right there in the circle. Doesn't that look like him?
So I actually saw this. I don't know why I saw this. This is freaking me out because I was just scrolling through Facebook the other day and this picture showed up. It was like under some kind, I don't remember the subheading of it, but it was this picture. That's bizarre.
That is bizarre. He looks weird. He doesn't.
He stands out. Absolutely. If you were to take away the circle, so put this picture on our YouTube thing. If you were to take the circle away, I think you'd still point him out.
Yeah, you could point him out in a crowd
100%.
easily. Like when I was first looking at the police sketch, I'm like, there's no way a guy looks like that. And then bam, weird, man.
So I'm gonna. That guy did it.
That guy.
From looking at him, that guy did it.
Nobody knows who he is actually. So
yeah,
he wasn't any of the suspects.
He is the Lake Bodom murder. Bodom.
So here's an interesting fact. Didn't know this. Around at 4 a.m. in Finland, it's light outside. It's not dark because they're so close in the northern hemisphere.
Okay, that makes sense.
So a little bit different weather patterns. I had to explain this because the rest doesn't make sense if you don't know that. But so while police were investigating this, they found 2 teenagers that were out around 4 a.m. at that time bird watching. Their names being Kiki, the Kiki Challenge, and Delave. They heard shouting from that campsite and did eventually walk over to investigate. They saw Neil's body on the tent and saw someone walking away heading in an eastward direction. It is suggested that they didn't understand the severity of what was going on as their attention was about how cool those motorbikes were. And I'm not kidding. That's what they said in the police testimony.
So you're walking, but you hear screaming. You walk into a campsite.
And there's a mangled body on the tent.
You see a deflated tent with a mangled body, and you're like, dude, those bikes are bitching. All right, anyway, back to our day.
Yeah. So,
like, are you serious?
Not to mention, if you've seen pictures of this tent, I'll just pull it up.
So our YouTube video is going to be pretty full of pictures.
Yeah.
We got to start putting these on our social media stuff if we can.
Absolutely. So this was the tent that was found.
Oh, Jesus, that thing is mangled.
Yeah, like... So, to me, I feel like these people are either complicit or morons.
Yeah.
Like I mean, maybe they're just kids and their attention goes to a motorbike and they're just fixated on it, you know?
Maybe they've always wanted a motorbike.
Yeah, and they're like, well, that guy's weird. He's sleeping on a tent. What an idiot. Let's go.
I mean, maybe they just thought he was drunk. Maybe they're like, oh, he just fell on his tent, collapsed it, and he's sleeping. I guess from a distance you could see.
There was another witness that was 15 years old named Olavi, and they were fishing at the lake. He didn't hear anything like screaming, but he did see a man walking eastward on the lake in a very hurried manner.
Okay, so we do know that the suspect went east.
Yes.
I'm also curious to see if this guy also likes motorbikes.
Well, I think he would have taken the motorbikes, you know? I mean,
that's true. Yeah. The guy fleeing should have hopped on that guy.
He's just like, no, I'll walk. It's cool.
In a hurried
Might say that he lived in the area, though. That could be a clue. So let's jump into the suspects. The first person to get arrested for this crime was named Polly. Polly asked a man for a cigarette on June 6th. The man noticed that Polly had bloodied sleeves and found that to be suspicious. He had a bunch of blood on his sleeves.
Bloody sleeves is a little suspicious.
Can I have a cigarette?
Please.
So he did match the description of that man. Again, it was a pretty generic picture. And the police arrested and interviewed him.
A generic picture, my ass?
Yeah, I mean,
is that how everyone looked in the 60s?
I think you just matched a few profiles of it, right?
I don't know how we saw the picture of what that guy looks like, the real picture.
Yeah.
If that guy walked up to me with bloody sleeves asking for a cigarette, I'm calling the cops immediately. This guy looks wrong. He's covered in blood. He is wrong.
Yeah. However, Polly had an alibi.
Ooh, Good old alibi.
He was supposedly 20 miles away from the location with some hobos spending the night.
Did you make that up?
No.
He's spending the night with hobos.
Yeah, he was homeless.
Oh.
Yeah, so that
Okay,
might explain the
I'm
bloody
sorry.
sleeves.
I thought he was a regular guy. Just okay.
a
I'm going out with my
monster.
regular hobo sleepover. Are you like? I'm sorry. I was confused.
You know, nothing beats the hobo life, stabbing people with your hobo knife at Lake Bodom.
It's stabby.
Anyways, he had a lot of his homeless brethren, disenfranchised people, sadly, that vouched for him and said, hey, this guy was with us this entire night. He couldn't be the killer. So they let him go.
All right. It's very credible.
Another suspect was Penty. He loved his drugs and alcohol. I mean, he loved them. So
That's quite the descriptor for this gentleman.
he loved them.
He loved his drugs and alcohol.
Because of this, he was spending a bout of time in prison. He and his fellow inmates were talking about the worst crimes they've ever done. And that's like the perfect snitch conversation in prison. Like, hey, what's the worst thing you've ever done?
So-
and later it's like, guard.
Right? Hey, if I give you some information, will you knock some time off? I feel like if you were trying to interrogate a guy who was in love with drugs and alcohol, would you actually take his word as credible?
Well, that's good reasoning there. Good reasoning.
I'm curious.
Well, let's get into it. So during this exchange, he claimed he was the one responsible for the Lake Bodom murders. He grew up around there, so had good knowledge of the area. In his story, he talks about seeing these 4 teenagers just laughing and having a good time, and for some reason he grew enraged. As for some reason, people having a good time really bothered him.
How dare they have a good time?
Yeah, so he decided to murder them that night.
Natural.
Seems
Naturally.
reasonable, Seems like he had a real good reason,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, I don't. Yeah. How dare they have a good time? He's some guy who loves his drugs and alcohol. He sees some people having a good time. Why not kill him?
It's like, fuck him.
This is a good idea. Great. Good for you, buddy.
So authorities dismissed this confession because they thought he was just some crazy dude who just loved drugs and alcohol and had delusions of grandeur.
Delusions of grandeur.
Do you like that?
That was great.
I put that.
That was great. But you're a master storyteller, my
A
friend.
craftsman, really.
You have honed your craft to perfection.
Later in life, in a different prison, he took his own life, and I speculate it's probably because he looked in the mirror and saw himself having fun and laughing.
Oh, he's like, I have reached the point in my life where I'm having a good time.
Became enraged and had to kill himself. Now let's jump into the main suspects.
Oh,
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
or you could say the usual suspects.
Yeah, fair enough. So the first one was named Carl.
Don't say it like that.
The first one was Carl.
First one was Carl.
The first one was Carl. He owned a kiosk on the lake and was well known for hating campers, which to me is just bizarre.
He owns a kiosk at a camping ground, but hates campers.
Yeah, right? He's just like watching people walk to go camp, and he's like, "So I'm gonna fucking kill those people."
Talk about a dream job. I hate basketball.
it's just-
I'm gonna be a basketball ref.
It's a strange hill to die on, right? He's just like, "Well, why don't you move?" And he's like, "No, it's my campground before."
I just imagine him like at the toll booth, like campers coming up. Hey, we're here to camp. All right, and then they drive away. Have a good time, fuckers.
Well, I imagine like the 4 people are like, "Hey, fuck you," and he's like, "I'm not fucking killing this night.
I'm gonna kill him."
This is gonna be
That's
the
it.
night."
That's the straw on the camel's back. Come to find out, he has some crazy background. He just divorced his wife. The wife took the kids. He's just crazy. Burned down his own
Not a
house.
good place. Okay, so here's some more things that make it compelling that he's the guy who did it, right? Mm-hmm. So he had been found in the past to cut tent supports so they would deflate on campers. That's how serial killers start, though. They're like,
It's just some stupid.
they have a fantasy and they're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go do this," and they're gonna be so afraid I'm gonna kill them. But then it just wasn't enough.
You ever
And then
deflated a tent,
Yeah.
bro?
He's like, and then
Like-
finally deflating the tent, he just had to stab and hit. So this guy was nuts. I mean, he was crazy. So apparently he would put razor blades in apples to prevent theft,
Oh,
which, I mean, that doesn't even make sense. So when he sold the apples, did he just go take out razor blades? And who in the right mind would still take the apple?
he's like, oh, I forgot to take the razor blade out of that one.
He's like, "Oh, here, you're going to buy an apple? All right, 1 second. He just pulls out 3 razor blades and says, "Hey, you're good to go."
He's like, look away, don't worry about it.
Why don't these campers buy my apples? I hate them. The guy's nuts.
So how much more evidence do you need? He hates campers. He has a history of deflating tents, and now he's stuffing razor blades in apples?
Yeah, dude, this
Guy's
guy's
the guy.
And apparently he got in trouble for throwing rocks at children camping there once. So
I bet he likes to travel eastward in a hurriedly fashion.
I mean, overall, he was a pretty normal guy, just a regular Joe.
Oh, normal. Totally normal.
So he was also known to carry knives and lead pipes at his kiosk for protection.
Oh, like a blunt force object.
Yeah, strange. Another piece of evidence is while he was drinking with his neighbors, multiple nights he confessed of doing the killings.
No man speaks the truth like a drunk man.
Yeah, it's true. The story goes he went out and killed the children and threw the weapons in his well and sealed it up. The police did search his house, but never searched the well. They didn't go further as they just thought he was a disturbed man. And his wife gave him an alibi saying that he spent the whole night with her.
Okay. So you're a cop. This guy's telling you that, or telling his neighbors who then tell the police, yeah, he's saying that he killed him, threw it in the well. The police get there. Let's search the house. Should we search the well? Nah.
No, he had an alibi. Let's go.
Now we're good.
Let's go. Let's go hang out at the lake.
Oh, that well where the murder weapons probably are? Nah. Not important.
So Carl was later found dead in his life at Lake Bodom. He died there. No one knows if it was an accident, someone murdered him, or it was a suicide. So later in life, his wife recanted the alibi, saying she was told to say that to the police or he would murder her. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like it was him.
So, yeah, I mean, if he's dead, we'll never know. Okay, so it
check
maybe
the fucking whale.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's too obvious though. Maybe it's so obvious that it's like all these things. Maybe he didn't do it. It's one of those glaring things in your face, but maybe it wasn't. You know what I mean?
I feel like it was. If I had to bet, I'd bet on Carl.
Out of all the suspects so far, I think yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, you never know.
Let's continue. So let's go to the next one. The next guy was German. His name was Hans.
Hans.
Yeah. He was an immigrant and was allegedly part of the KGB and a guard at Auschwitz back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Again, rumors happen in small towns. Like, why would he be a Russian spy but also be an ex-German guard?
Right.
And the Germans hate
Makes
Russians?
sense.
I don't know. So he also loved drugs and was very violent. Yeah. I mean, Finland is a weird place. It's a weird place. He had long blonde hair, which he cut the day after the murders took place.
Ooh.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. He also admitted himself to the hospital the next day, and the nurses noticed that there was dirt under his fingernails, and his clothes were stained red. You just think it was the other guy, and then he comes in. This next person comes to the hospital the next day, all bloodied up.
Did he ask for a cigarette?
Well, doctors kept asking him questions like, "Hey, why do you have blood on you?" And why does it look like you were in a fight? And he would just pretend to pass out.
He's like, "Oh, it's a funny."
Oh, every time they question him, he would just pass out.
Hey, now that you're awake, can you tell me this? Yeah.
So while at the hospital, he stayed up all night washing his hands.
All night.
Yeah, just cleaning himself, like his arms, his hands. Maybe he's OCD.
Well, he's not gonna have coronavirus.
Yeah. Damn corona, never again. So Hans is also suspected of doing a bunch more murders in the area.
A bunch of murders.
Yeah, like there's a lot of murders that kind of fit this profile. He was around in the area, so that's where this could be like a serial killer right here. No one knows because he never got caught, but people suspected he was. The police in Finland, being an amazing police force, took his bloody clothes but never tested them because he had an airtight alibi.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
They're like, did you do it? No. All right, good enough for us. So,
first, the guy admits to dumping the weapons down the well. They never check the well. This guy has clothing. They take it, but they never test it.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. The police are incompetent as all get out.
No, it's because no one gets murdered in Finland? I don't know. Did you do it? No. That's all I need. But anyways, he never said what his alibi was till like 2016. So he just said, I have an airtight alibi. Like, you come after me. Like, it's just a waste of time.
All right, they believe good enough for us. All right.
Yeah. So in 2016, he was like, yeah, I was having breakfast with his wife and landlord during the time.
Oh, because that's such a secret alibi. Thanks for holding on to that. Your breakfast with your wife.
Yeah. So in 2004, they reopened the case, and the police tested the bloody shoes found by the road because that's all they had at the time. I guess they lost the bloody clothes because,
they just lost it.
Yeah.
They're out there just playing toss with a bloody shirt. And he blows away in the wind.
Like, damn it! No, they probably washed it, burnt it. And I'm just kidding.
They washed it. Oh, this is
damn
stained.
it! We washed it.
It's a perfectly good shirt. What? Jeez.
The cop was wearing it the next day.
Yeah, I got this out of evidence. Doesn't it look good?
Now this is styling.
That red stain was pissing me off. But hey, look, brand new.
So this is where it gets crazy, right? Because they're always just be like, "Oh, you have an alibi? Okay, you're good." So they identified the bloody shoes had DNA of everyone but Niels, making him a suspect to the crime.
Niels.
The police claim he has always been the main suspect, but never had any damning evidence. But apparently this was. I don't know. I think they're just trying to like not look bad. Anyways,
They're like, yeah, we've known all along. We didn't have anything to go off of.
yeah. So Niels gets arrested, okay? 2004 at age 62. This guy's in jail for a year before his trial happens.
He was 18 when this happened. He's now 62.
Could you imagine that? That's
and they're
crazy.
arresting him. Hey, remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that crazy sex camp thing you had, where you fell asleep on the tent and every one of your friends died? We're arresting you for that.
I feel like the department is like, we're not incompetent. We got him. You know, we're not stupid.
Breaking news: Lake Bodom murders several years later.
Solved. So the prosecutor went in to trial saying Niels was a jealous lover of one of the girls, and in a rage killed everyone because his other friend was, yeah. The defense argued, well, how could he inflict massive injuries to himself?
Fair question.
Like, could you hit yourself with a lead pipe? Give yourself fractures?
If it meant getting away until you're 62, maybe.
A witness, from back then, said she saw Zeppo Niels arguing at the lake at 3:30 a.m., and they went back to their tent. The defense won, shockingly, but so Niels was considered innocent, but he already spent a year in jail, so the government actually gave him 45,000 euros.
Is that equal to a year? I don't know what the ratio is for money.
It's like 60K, I think, or something like that.
I'd
which
want
still
more.
Isn't worth it.
I'd want more.
You would lose your job. I guess he's 62. He's already retired.
I'd be like, you add 3 zeros to that, maybe.
The funny thing is, so if we go back to Hans and Carl, there was 2 separate people that wrote books. One was a political guy, and another person just knew Hans, and they both wrote books saying those 2 people did it, right?
Okay.
So it's funny that those 2 other people were like, without a doubt, it's this person. It's just interesting. My one question is, like, why the hell have they not opened that damn well yet? Like, if you're going to open up the case, fucking check the whale. Check the well.
Might as well.
So,
Yeah, get it?
yeah, I get it. So that ends the case of Lake Bodom.
The Lake Bodom murders, whatever you want to call it. That was pretty interesting. I didn't know that so supposedly, like we said, Friday the 13th was based off of this. I can see why you're camping at some kind of lake.
They're like, you know what? We don't need someone named Hans or Niels or Carl. We need a hockey man in there killing those bastards.
We're going to name him Jason. Jason Voorhees. I mean, hey, I like Friday the 13th. I don't like all 12 of them, but I like.
That's gonna make me think the next time I'm camping. I'm telling you, if I'm ever out there again, my next fear is gonna be my tent supports just being taken down. You're like, fuck,
your tent
I'm gonna do
collapses
that
on
to
you in the middle of the
If we
night.
ever go camping together, I'm like, I'm gonna murder you.
You come out, I'm dead asleep. Like, what is your problem?
Britain didn't wake up.
Ever again. Well, you heard it here, folks. If I ever go missing camping, it's Cleet's fault. He collapsed my tent.
I have an airtight alibi. I was in my tent.
So my question is, so they thought it was...
Well, the 2 main suspects
the
were
guy's
Hans
name?
and Carl, and the man who survived was Niels.
So they thought that Niels did it, but there's several reports saying that they found someone walking eastward in a hurried fashion. So I would think that Niels would kind of be, I don't know, at least not credible. I don't know.
Out of everyone, I wouldn't think it was Niels. Like,
Yeah.
I was totally sold on Carl, and then I read Hans, and I'm like, damn, like, could be either of them. Could have been both.
Could have been neither. We don't know. I still think it was the guy who was found dead in the lake. I think that the murder weapons are still in the well. Maybe we should go bust open this well, man.
We're going to do it for science.
Find some murder weapons.
Justice.
Go to Finland. Okay, so we do have one listener in Finland. I checked while we were
really?
recording this episode. We have a
shit.
listener in Finland.
Interesting.
If you are listening to this episode, I would love to hear your thoughts on the Lake Bodom murders. If you've ever been to Lake Bodom, how do you pronounce it? I don't know. Tell us.
Bodom. Yeah, and how do you feel about your police force down there?
All right. Well, again, thanks, Juge, for recommending that one. We really appreciate that. So we're going to go on to the Hinterkaifeck murders, which takes place in Germany. This one was actually recommended by my brother, Bo.
Another
My
angry
family's
German.
killing it. I love it. Thanks, fam.
Wish my family would make requests.
Your brother Kyle did.
Yeah.
He did
What was
the
it?
island one, the Treasure Island. What was it?
Treasure Island. Oak Island.
Oak Island. Yeah.
Treasure Island.
You got your brother on there. But anyway, we've still got more to come. So if you have suggestions, send them in into theabysspot@gmail.com. Okay. Anyway, we're gonna go through the Hinterkaifeck murders. So, 6 inhabitants were found killed in the March of 1922. Rumors and theories are all we have to go on, but let's head to the abyss once again to talk about this twisted story. All right, so we're going to talk about where Hinterkaifeck is. Hinterkaifeck, which is made up of Hinter, which is a German word meaning behind, and Kaifeck. And I'm gonna stop right here first. If I mispronounce any of this, I apologize. Again, it's all in Germany. A lot of these words are kind of hard to say. But anyway, it's made up of Hinter, which is a word meaning behind, and Kaifeck, which is an Eidenhof, or single farm settlement lying just over 1 kilometer, or 0.62 miles for us, to the south of what would come to be called the Murder Farm.
Damn, the murder farm.
This farm was built in the year 1863. Hinterkaifeck was never actually the official name or separate district, but rather an unofficial house name. The farm didn't belong to Kaifeck, but rather to a village named Groburn as house number 27 and a half.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's like half a house? Or?
I don't know, 27 and a half.
Huh.
Can you imagine, like, that's not Cleet's
So
house.
it's a house and a half or half a house? I need this answer.
27 and a half. That's all it says. I don't know. But can you imagine, like, oh, that's not Cleet's house. That's house 12 and 3/4.
Weird Germans.
Like, it's interesting. So we're going to talk about the family and occurrences that took place before the actual murders. I know, we're waiting for the murders, but it's the good stuff. The residents in the cabin were Andreas Gruber, who was 63, Kazilia Gruber, who was 72, their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, who was 35, Victoria's children Kazilia, who was 7, and Joseph, who was only 2 years old. Speculations and stories appeared about some pretty crazy things that happened at this farm. 6 months before the murder, the family made up and quit her job. Her reasoning was never proven. However, some speculate that she believed the house was haunted and would hear strange sounds emanating from the attic space.
Wait, so she was the maid?
She was the maid, yep.
Okay.
And she quit because she thought the house was haunted.
All right.
None of this appeared, however, in her statement she made to the police, so take it with a grain of salt. Andreas Gruber found a strange newspaper that came from Munich on the property in March of 1922. He didn't remember buying said paper and thought the postman must have left it there. They thought this a mistake as no one in the area was even subscribed to receive this paper in the first place.
You know what I'd think?
What?
If a random newspaper showed up in my house and I lived alone, I would think someone came into my house and left that newspaper.
Right.
Is that a crazy speculation there?
You're way out in left field, man. I think it just appeared. Newspapers just do that. They just,
Damn media.
they're there.
And their tricks.
So this next discovery of Andreas is what freaks me out the most. I'm going to be honest here. Just days before the murders, Gruber would tell his neighbors about some interesting tracks in the freshly fallen snow at his home.
Are these people morons?
Can
Can you not put 2 and 2 together?
I don't know. Can you put 2 and 2 together?
Okay, if I saw tracks in the snow leading to my house,
And a newspaper.
and I'm finding newspapers in my house, some fucker's going into my house.
That's some sound logic, man. I think you're already ahead of the Finland police here.
Sorry. Unless there's an airtight alibi.
I wonder if there's a collapsed tent nearby. The tracks lead out of the forest to a door in the farm's machine room, which, scarily enough, had a broken lock. The tracks themselves weren't really the scary part. However, what freaked him out was the fact that the tracks only led towards the cabin, but never away from it.
I wonder what that implies.
What?
That they didn't leave, that they're there.
Man, you're just solving this case as we're going, man.
Finland, if you're hiring.
You got new Detective
Detective
Cleet. I almost said your last name. We got Detective Cleet on the case.
From the south to Finland. That didn't work.
No, it didn't. Around this same time, Gruber reported that a few of the family's house keys were missing. Later that evening, footsteps could be heard in the attic. So I'm guessing whoever was here was reading the newspaper, walked to the house, dropped the newspaper, climbed in the attic, and they're just hanging out.
It's like he's not even trying to hide.
He's just making a ruckus. He's like trying to get comfortable. Like, this attic sucks. Gruber searched the entire farmhouse, but was unable to find anyone that didn't belong there. After telling the neighbors, they obviously suggested contacting authorities and even offered to help him out personally, but he denied all help and authorities were never contacted. So he's like, hey guys, check this crazy shit out. Oh, we can help you. You should call the police. Nah, that's just weird. I just wanted to tell you. Can you just hear my weird story, please?
Yeah. I'm not looking for an answer. I just want you to feel my feelings.
I'm not telling you anything ever again.
I want you to listen.
Kazilia, the young daughter, told her school friend that her mother had run away from the farm after a violent quarrel the night before the murders. She was found several hours later in the forest. I didn't get much clarification on that. I'm guessing like maybe Andreas, the dad, went after her and was like trying to find her in the forest because she ran away and brought her back. I don't know. I didn't get much clarification, but she went into the forest. She was found in the forest. She's back. She also stated that the family had consistently witnessed a man with a mustache observing them from the edge of the forest. At first when I read this, I was like, okay, that's a little creepy, but then I just think to myself, like, if I ever looked out my window and saw a mustache man across the street, I'd go out and confront him. Like, what do you want?
Well, it sounds like it's in a remote area. So, like, where's this guy living? You're finding newspapers in your damn house.
Finding tracks that go to your house. Now this mustached man is just standing on the edge of the forest. On Friday, March 31st, 1922, the family's new maid by the name of Maria Baumgartner, who was 44, was escorted to the farm by her sister. Her sister left after a short stay, leaving Maria to her work. She was most likely the last person to ever see these individuals alive.
Damn.
Can you imagine? You know, the scary thought is there will always be some point in your life where you see someone for the last time.
You know, that's funny because, you know,
funny.
We're a little bit older, and I think that we've known people that have been close to us that have passed away under unexpected circumstances. And the weirdest thing for me is going on their Facebook and seeing them posting like a week or two prior. It gives me the chills.
Dude, I do that
I
same
hate
thing. Like, well, especially like if you hear someone passed and you don't know how, I like to think check Facebook because maybe someone in their family posted something and like you said, I don't remember who it was. Someone passed away that I went to school with. Really sad. I think it was a car accident. It was horrible. Like my age, someone dying in a car accident, and I went to check their Facebook and they posted the night before.
That's
and it's
crazy.
it's the most.
They have no idea what's gonna come.
No, and that's the craziest thing is it's scary in the fact that it can happen anytime, but it's also eerie that like the night before they're posting on Facebook and then they pass away. It's scary.
Really puts your own mortality in perspective.
Seriously. So anyway, this maid who's now working at Hinterkaifeck, her sister brings her to the cabin, drops her off, and then leaves, and then we'll never see her alive again. So that's pretty crazy. Now, we're going to get into the crazy murder stuff. I know that's what you've been waiting for.
Wait, there was a murder?
What? We're talking about a lot of murder tonight. It appears as though Victoria, her parents Andreas and Kazilia, and her daughter Kazilia were lured into the barn late that evening. They were brought in through the stable where it is theorized that they were murdered one at a time. The perpetrator or perpetrators used a tool called a mattock, which is a tool resembling a pickaxe, so another blunt force thing, which is used for digging, prying, or chopping.
This is why I don't trust people with mustaches.
That's why I got the full beard.
Yeah,
Bearded
you trust people beards, but mustache people, I don't know.
The tool reportedly belonged to the family and was used to kill them via blows to the head. Once finished in the barn, the perp or perps returned to the home's living quarters where they killed the 2-year-old Joseph, who was sleeping in his bassinet.
No, they killed the kid.
Yeah.
That's fucked. I hate that.
Yeah. And the new family maid, Baumgartner, who was sleeping in her bed.
Who kills a 2-year-old? I'm not over that. That's stupid.
No, it's bad. People, when you involve children, okay, any murder is awful.
You're right.
When you murder a 2-year-old or any kid, there is a special,
if it's a different level of evil, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's horrible. So, and unfortunately, they used the mattock for these murders as well. So, just a blunt force murder. It was 4 days later that the gruesome scene was discovered. On April 1st, two men by the names of Hans Shurovsky and Edward Shurovsky, who were traveling coffee salesmen, arrived at the farm hoping to fill an order. I think that'd be a cool job, traveling coffee people.
Yeah, I bet they got a good deal on coffee, too.
Yeah. They knocked on the door several times, but when no one responded, they started knocking on the windows. That's normal.
They want to sell some fucking
like, hello,
coffee.
ding, ding, ding.
I've had 10 cups of coffee. You're going to buy some.
You ain't hiding from us. These beans have your name on them. They walked around the house hoping to see someone outside, but found no one. Man, these guys are persistent. So they're knocking on the door and knocking on the windows. Like, let's go scope the place.
Buy my fucking coffee.
What they did find, however, was the gate to the machine house was open. They didn't investigate further and just left. So they found an open door and they're like, all right, well, we're out.
This is where we draw the line. We're going to knock on the windows, the doors, but we see an open door, we're going to walk away.
We're out. The machine house is not my property. The school also noticed Kazilia's absence for the past several days, and the absence was also noticed from Sunday worship. On Monday, April 3rd, Joseph Mayer, the postman, was out to deliver the mail to the farmhouse and was intrigued to find Saturday's mail still in the box. He was intrigued, I say.
Intrigued. You know, that's how they actually find people that die. Their mailbox fills up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. When you go to town, sometimes, I mean, we don't ask people to get our mail. It just stacks up. I hope no one thinks that we got murdered. I guess after a week or two
it fills
or
up,
three,
the postman might do a wellness check.
They're like, I'm going to deliver this personally. An assembler by the name of Albert Hoffner came to Hinterkaifeck on April 4th with a job to repair the food chopper. He reported that he hadn't seen any of the family members, and the only noises were coming from the animals on the property, including the dog in the barn. At least he didn't kill the dog.
Yeah. Well, killed a 2-year-old, so.
Yeah, I might chop that.
Still not happy.
Yeah, no, that's bad. He waited for an hour, and when no one appeared, he simply decided to fulfill his task and fix the chopper, which reportedly took him 4.5 hours. On his way back, he stopped in Groburn at roughly 2:30 p.m. and met the daughters of the village guide by the name of Lorenz Schlittenbauer. He stated the repairs were done and admitted to being a little scared by the quiet of Hinterkaifeck. Hoffner also went to the mayor, George Gregor, to report on Hinterkaifeck.
Yeah, good for him.
So he went and he's at the place. He waits for an hour, doesn't see anybody. He's like, I'm just going to do the work.
Well, he's there for 5.5 hours. He's like, where is everyone?
Yeah. He does the work and leaves. Like, all right, shit's fixed. Bye. Schlittenbauer, rather curious and worried about the status of the farmhouse, sent his son Johann and stepson Joseph to the house to see about making contact with the family. Because, that's what a guy does.
Send his kids.
I'm going to send my kids. Hey,
this could be dangerous.
This guy's really worried about this family. Do you want to go check on him, kids? I mean, they're 16 and 9 years old. So he's like, go check this house, please. The sons arrived at the farm, saw no one, and returned home to tell their father. With this news, Schlittenbauer went to the farm along with two men by the names of Michael Pohl and Jacob Siegel, who were his friends. They entered the barn where they found the bodies of Andreas, his wife Kazilia, his daughter Victoria, and granddaughter Kazilia. Shortly after, they went into the home, fearing the worst, to find Maria and the youngest family, Joseph. With the discovery of the bodies, they returned to town to notify authorities. This is where the investigations begin. Can you imagine? You go to the barn, you find 4 dead bodies. You go to the house, you find the other 2, just completely murdered with blunt force trauma.
I'd say not in my town.
Not in my town. Not in my Hinterkaifeck. An inspector by the name of George Ringgruber and his colleagues from the Munich Police Department were assigned to this case. Now, let's just hope that these guys are a leg above the Finland case.
I hope so.
Let's just hope. The initial investigations were muddled by the number of people who had interacted with the scene prior. Now, this is the crazy part. I shit you not. I don't understand, but when I say muddled, they've really fucked up this crime scene. People had interacted with the items in the home and in the barn. They moved the bodies and even cooked and ate meals in the kitchen.
Wait, the police did that?
It said people.
Oh.
So people that are coming to this farm, the workers there, the people that are cleaning up and stuff, they're coming and interacting and moving things before the police investigation can even begin.
You gotta eat, man.
I can't imagine that. So this is an active crime scene, and you're cooking your fucking meatloaf?
Ain't no murder gonna mess up my dinner.
The day after the bodies were found, an autopsy was performed by Johann Baptist Amuller. Oh, wow. The day after the bodies were found, an autopsy was performed by Johann Baptist Amuller, a court physician. The autopsies were performed in the barn. So he didn't even take him to a place. He just performed them in the barn.
Oh.
This is where it was established that a mattock was used as the murder weapon. However, the weapon itself was not acquired at the time. Evidence showed that the little girl Kazelia was alive for several hours after the assault. She had ripped her own hair out in giant tufts while lying in the straw on the barn floor.
What?
Yeah.
And
So the little girl,
That's sad.
she was 9.
What was the weapon? A
Mattock. It's like a pickaxe. It's like the exact same thing as a pickaxe. So she's been beaten by this pickaxe. She's alive, and it says like she pulled her own tufts of hair out of her head.
How do they know it was her pulling the hair out?
I don't know, but that's what I'm saying is I think they assume from like the coagulation of blood. I don't know. I'm not a detective, but the police force assumed that she was alive. But
Sad.
I mean, tearing her own hair out, I would imagine that maybe it's like a state of panic, like she's
Yeah,
trying to get
poor
to
girl.
the wound. I mean, that's just horrible. I mean, fucking child killers, man. I can't even. It's disgusting. All victims had their skulls removed
What?
and sent to Munich to be further examined.
Oh, but not by the killer. Okay, I was like,
No,
what
yeah,
the
no.
hell?
No. So, yeah, they come and they take all the heads off and send them to Munich so they can be examined. I mean, that's still kind of weird. They just take
like
the
a
heads.
weird thing to do.
Yeah. They kept the heads in a justice building in Augsburg, Germany, but later they were lost, possibly being destroyed in the Allied bombings in World War II.
Hold on. Okay, but losing heads is crazy. Okay, all right.
Yeah, but they were probably...
Bombings. Okay, I was just like, at
they
first
didn't
I was
just
like, no
lose
way.
them. What'd you do with the heads,
We
bro?
lost a bunch of heads.
We lost some heads. I don't know where they're at. The bodies were buried in Weidenhofen Cemetery on Saturday, April 8th.
I'm assuming headless.
Yeah, headless.
Not an open casket funeral.
No. Less than a year after the murders, the farmhouse was demolished and surprisingly revealed additional evidence.
Oh.
Since its demolition, no structure has been built on the site apart from a memorial shrine, and today, the former Hinterkaifeck land is an open agricultural area. So they demolished it, they built a shrine, and that's it. It's just an open area right now.
Case solved.
That's it. So another case of who done it.
Who done it?
Okay. So, during the investigations, the first motive suspected by the police force was robbery. They had interviewed traveling craftsmen and inhabitants in surrounding villages. They abandoned this theory when they found a large amount of money in the home, because I guess they were pretty well-to-do.
It's too brutal to be a robbery. Like,
Right.
It's just too much. Like, there had been passion behind that.
Exactly. During further investigations, it was clear that the perp or perps remained at the cabin for several days after committing this insane crime. This was determined as someone had fed the cattle, eaten all the bread in the home, and had cut meat from the pantry.
Wait, so they kill everyone and children, but
And
they
then-
feed the cattle?
Yeah, they feed the cattle, they took care of the family dog, and just ate in their house. So they killed these people and then just hung out. Can you imagine? It's also very possible that the perp or perps remained on site for several days even after the discovery of the bodies. So while they're investigating,
What?
they were just hanging on the property somewhere. I don't know how they
No.
got that information, but they did. Nearby residents had reported smoke coming from the chimney all weekend long.
It's probably a bunch of footprints, too.
Right? Just leading to the cabin, but never away. Now, if robbery was in fact the motive, the money would have been found easily. Because they found that large sum of money. If they're hanging out, it would have been found easily.
Yeah.
So, robbery is not the intent here. They came to kill. Kill bad. Having found no clear motive with this violent crime, the police worked on a list of suspects. Despite repeated arrests, no murderer has been found to this day, and the files were closed in 1955. The last interrogations took place in 1986 before, and I'm going to butcher this so bad, Kriminalhauptkommissar Konrad Moeller retired. So before he retired, they conducted the last interrogation in 1986. All in all, over 100 suspects have been questioned over the years, but none have yielded conclusive results. So it's still a mystery, man.
Could have
Still a
been
mystery.
the Finland mangler.
Could have been. I mean, there's no tents to collapse, so I think we're safe. Now, I'm going to start talking about some of the inconsistencies
Oh.
and questions posted by these findings. I think that's stuff that you and I have been kind of thinking about as well. It was noted that the members found in the barn could have gone there in their restlessness to check on the noises from the animals. You know, so the animals are making noises. They just decide, all 4 of them, to go check the barn.
Yeah, they're just freaked out. That makes sense.
Right, but all 4 of them. Like, you think, like, just the dad or just the mom, but, like...
Well, what if, like, the dad went in and then he doesn't come back? And then the mom's like, all right, I'm a little scared, so
That's fair.
bring the daughters.
Okay, that's a good point. They tested this theory and concluded that human screams could not be heard from the barn while in the home. So, like you said, so you can hear the animals crying from the house, but you couldn't hear a human scream. So it had to have been a really loud scream to have been taken from the house to the barn to check on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The question is posed of why the 4 oldest members of the house were in the barn in the first place. But your proposition makes sense, though. Maybe it was one after the other. Especially since they concluded that, or they speculate that they were killed one at a time.
Yeah, that's how I would imagine it. So the dad goes, and then the mom goes, and then maybe the kids go.
And the daughter
goes.
Mom
and dad.
Yeah, so it's mom and dad, like the eldest mom and dad, their daughter, her 2 kids, and then the maid. So there's 6 total. There were only 5 pictures taken of the crime scene. 2 of them contained the bodies in the farm, one of the maid in her bed, one of the bassinet where Joseph slept, and an outside view of the yard. The exact sequence in which they were killed cannot be clarified with absolute certainty, but they do suggest that They also recovered no fingerprints. When trying to reconstruct the scene based on the positions of the bodies, it's revealed that Victoria was likely the first to be killed in the barn. Next was her mother, Kazelia, then her father, Andreas, and ending with the child, Kazelia. In the house, it is reported the maid was killed first, and then finally Joseph.
Sad.
So this would be that the eldest daughter of the 2 went first.
Oh.
Then her mother, then the father, and then the grandchild of the 2 living there. So that's the order that they speculate. So, I don't know, it could have been one after the other, and that's just the order that they heard what was going on. Now, if we remember back to what was reported by Andreas with the prints in the snow and movement in the attic, it is speculated that the perp or perps were already in the home. No shit.
Wow.
And they were residing in the attic well before the murders. Evidence of this included hollows in the hay and shifted roofing tiles. This was later thought to have been something completely different and pretty disgusting. So I'm going to be... This blew my mind. It's kind of nasty. It was theorized that these spaces in the attic were secret incestuous places for Gruber and Victoria. So that's the granddad and his daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, so they were in an incestuous relationship.
Gross.
So they would go to the attic for their little sessions. So this would explain why Gruber wouldn't have noticed these irregularities when he reportedly searched the house entirely. So if he's checking the attic, he's seeing these moved things, and that's where him and his daughter go to, do their thing, which is completely disgusting. So yeah, now we have incest in this story. It's pretty awesome.
Ew.
I'm at a loss for words as well, man. On the evening after the murders and 3 days before they were discovered, an artisan by the name of Michael Plockel passed by Hinterkaifeck. Plockel noticed that the oven was hot. Someone approached him with a lantern and blinded him, causing him to quickly evacuate the premises. Plockel went on to report that the smoke in the fireplace had a very disgusting smell to it. No investigations were done on this, and it was never determined what was actually burned in the fireplace that evening. So someone stumbled in the house, right? Some traveling merchant. He's in the house. Someone runs up to him with like a lantern, blinds him, and he runs away.
What?
That's what he's reporting, at least.
Seems suspicious.
But you think that's credible? Oh, and he said the fireplace stunk, so he's probably cooking some crazy shit.
Some stinky fireplace. Okay.
On April 1st, at roughly 3 a.m., Simon Reblander, a farmer and butcher, was on his way home near Brunnen. He stated he saw 2 unknown figures standing at the edge of the forest. When these figures noticed him, they turned around to hide their faces. He thought nothing of it at the time, but when the murders were disclosed, he had thought that maybe these 2 figures had been involved in some way. I mean, you're walking home, 3 a.m., you see 2 people staring at you from the woods. They turn around and just stand there until you leave. What do you do?
I probably wouldn't ask questions. I keep walking very quickly.
All right. That's that. Albert Hoffner, a fitter, was doing repair work on Hinterkaifeck for several hours after the crime. He was only questioned in 1925 because police failed to actually conduct an interrogation immediately after the crime. So they're dropping the ball as well. The hell? Albert claimed that the perp was in the yard while doing his work. He claimed that the doors to the house had been locked and he had not seen or heard anyone on the premise. He did, however, hear dogs barking inside. Once finished with his work, he reported that the dog was tied up outside instead and the barn doors were open. Later that day, when the bodies were discovered, the dog was back inside the barn and the doors had been closed again. Interesting. So someone let the dog out, tied it up, and then put him back. After they murdered everyone.
So
Supposedly
he's just
is what this
living in
guy's
the
saying.
house, apparently.
Yeah. He's just living there. So I think what this is, he just wanted to live in the house and didn't want to share.
Yeah.
Like he shacked up in the attic. He got tired of mother and...
This is my house
He
now.
got tired of father and sister coming up to do their deed.
Oh,
Decided to
gross.
kill everybody. Now he's just living there, taking care of the dogs and the cattles, whatever. This one is weird, but in May of 1927, a resident of Waidhofen was stopped by a stranger in the middle of the night. The stranger asked him questions about the murder and then shouted that he was the murderer and ran into the woods. The stranger was never identified.
I'm the murderer. And he just runs.
Have you heard about this murder? Yeah, I don't know. I did it! And just takes off into the woods. He's like, okay. Super credible. All right, last but not least, we're going to talk about some of the suspects that they had. These ones get kind of crazy. We're going to start with a man by the name of Carl Gabriel.
Carl, it's him.
Now, Carl was Victoria's husband. Remember, she was widowed, like I said at the very beginning? So she was the widowed daughter. Carl was reportedly killed by a shell attack in December 1914 in Arras, France during the First World War. His body, however, was never recovered. After the murders, speculations began to arise that maybe he hadn't actually been killed. Now, you remember Joseph, right? Victoria's 2-year-old son. Victoria gave birth to him illegitimately during her husband's absence. Joseph was actually thought to have been the son of Victoria and Andreas, her dad.
Gross.
Yeah. As they were in an incestuous relationship, as we already covered. This relationship was documented in court and had been known throughout the village. So everyone knows. It's like, oh, it's just daddy and daughter. Oh,
Gross.
it's disgusting. Because of this, it is thought that Carl traveled to the farm and killed the family out of revenge. This theory was highly sought after. However, several soldiers from his regiment had testified to his death, inclining police to actually believe it. Over the years, this theory reinstated itself as several people reported to have met Carl and that he had exchanged his identity with a fallen soldier. There is still not enough evidence to support this theory. Still
Seems
think it's Carl?
plausible, but yeah.
I mean, if you found that your ex or your current wife, because she thought you died, is now hanging out with your dad.
Oh no.
Or her dad. Sorry.
This is gross.
Yeah. Next suspect was the village guide Lorenz Schlittenbauer. I'm going to call him Schlitty from here on out because Schlittenbauer is a long word to say. Not long after the death of his first wife in 1918, Lorenz was believed to have been in a relationship with Victoria and was rumored to be the father of Joseph. Everyone's in a relationship with Victoria.
We need Maury in there.
Yeah.
Isn't that who she is? Maury?
Maury?
Who's the, you are the father.
Oh, Maury? Yeah.
Yeah, we need Maury in there.
You are the father. Yeah, seriously. Everyone's in a relationship with Victoria. We don't know who this kid's dad is. So, I mean, I don't know. It's ridiculous. So, he's rumored to be the father, right? This comes from the fact that on Joseph's birth certificate, the initials LS can be found. But this could also be from an attending doctor. Another reason Schlitty was under suspicion was the mysterious behaviors he had when finding the bodies. When he arrived at Hinterkaifeck with his friends, remember because he's the ones who actually found him, they had to actually break a gate to enter the barn because the doors were locked. The weird part is, as soon as he found the bodies in the barn, it said that he immediately ran to the house and unlocked the front door with a key and entered the home alone. Now remember, several keys to the home had gone missing before the killings. It is, however, possible that Schlitty had a key simply due to being a neighbor or Victoria's secret lover and had been given a key. His companions thought this behavior was strange as well and asked him about it, to which he claimed he was looking for his son Joseph. This could be a rumor, however, it was proven that Schlitty had moved the bodies at the scene. So yeah, he found the bodies in the barn, ran to the house, claiming to look for his son, is at least what we're told, and is trying to move the bodies. So he's already tampering with the bodies and evidence. So he's one of the ones we have to thank for the shoddy police work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think that he's one of the likely suspects, but there's more. He remained a suspect for many years after, mostly due to mysterious comments he made that indicated he had knowledge that only murderer would know. So, for example, a local teacher by the name of Hans Iblager found Schlitty at the remains of Hinterkaifeck in 1925. The teacher asked him, of course, what he was doing there, to which he commented that the killer's attempts at burying the family's bodies in the barn had been stopped due to the frozen state of the ground. Some saw this as evidence that he had been there that night and had murdered the family, while others state that because he was a neighbor and familiar with the land at the time, he was just making an educated guess.
I understand both points.
Right? Another theory surfaced that Schlitty murdered the family after Victoria demanded financial assistance for Joseph. Before Schlitty died in 1941, he won several civil claims for slander against those who described him as the murderer of Hinterkaifeck.
Oh, yikes.
So he went down fighting. He was not the murderer. I don't know. I think there's still a lot of compelling evidence. All right. In 1971, a gal named Therese T. wrote a letter to talk about an event from her childhood. When she was only 12 years of age, she saw her mother being visited by the mother of brothers Carl and Andreas S. This woman claimed that her sons from Saddleburg happened to be the two murderers of Hinterkaifeck. The mother stated, and I quote, Andreas regretted that he lost his penknife during their talk at some point. Right? Super credible. Oddly enough, when the farm was demolished in 1923, remember how I said they found evidence? A pocket knife was found that couldn't be traced to any owner. The knife very well could have belonged to one of the victims, but this is a strange coincidence. The first mate of Hinterkaifeck, Crescenz Rieger, who resigned, went on to say that she was certain she had seen that knife while working at the property. She just gets suspiciouser and suspiciouser. Speaking of the former maid Crescenz, she worked at Hinterkaifeck from November 1920 to roughly September 1921. She reported that she suspected brothers Anton and Karl Bickler to committing the murders. This theory came from the fact that Anton had actually helped with the potato harvest at Hinterkaifeck and knew his way around the place. Crescenz stated that Anton spoke to her often about the family and suggested they ought to be dead. Because that's just a normal conversation to have.
Why ought they be dead? Would be a good follow-up question.
Because they're wealthy. The maid also reported that the family dog barked at everyone it saw other than Anton. She reported to speaking to a stranger outside her window at night and suspected it was Anton's brother, Carl. So they're just talking to some random person outside the window at night.
Not creepy.
Yeah. Crescenz said that she thought the brothers committed the murder with George Siegel, who also worked at Hinterkaifeck and had information on the family fortune. Siegel had reportedly broken into the home in November and stole several items. He, however, denied this claim. He did admit to carving the handle of the murder weapon while he worked on the farm and knew where the tool would be kept. All right, last suspect here comes from an author by the name of Bill James. He alleges that Paul Mueller may have been responsible for the murders in his book, The Man from the Train. The reason he theorizes this is based on the fact that these murders bear similar characteristics to Mueller's crimes in the United States. This included murdering an entire family in a secluded home with a blunt-edged tool with apparent absence of robbery as a motive. The author states that Mueller, who was described as a German immigrant, might have left the United States for his homeland after he was being investigated. He committed the 1912 murders of two families in a single night in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and another family killing in Kansas, only a few hundred miles away.
That's pretty compelling.
So we have a lot of, suspects here that have some compelling evidence, but still to this day, there's no 100% fact as to who killed the family at Hinterkaifeck. I just think it's crazy that the heads were taken off and sent to this place. And
how's that going to help anything?
I don't know. Is that a regular practice I don't think that would happen today. I think you take the entire body and just but chop off the heads, bury the bodies.
Yeah, what was on the heads that was so important?
Well, they were all hit with the mattock or the mattock, however you want to pronounce it. And what are you going to study from that? I don't know.
Well, I feel like we've learned something.
Well, what did we learn, Cleet?
I feel like if we find a newspaper in our house or a warm cup of coffee
and tracks
on your
leading
table,
to the house,
I think you should be suspicious that some murderer's in your house.
Yeah.
It's like weird. I didn't make this coffee. I didn't drink half of this cup.
What the hell is this?
Who took a bite out of my cake?
Who ate my porridge? You hear crazy footsteps in the attic. I don't know. I'm just the kind of paranoid person where I'm not going to just shrug it off I don't know. I can't find it. I'd be out of the house. I'm like, okay, well, if I can't find anything, we're leaving.
It's a house settling, man. Yeah. Sure, it sounds like footprints in the attic.
Sure. That toilet flushed because it wanted to. No big deal. That's just ridiculous. Speaking of haunted houses.
Who flushed the toilet at 2 a.m.? smells like shit.
Someone just walk in and take a shit in my house and just flush the toilet?
There's a shit.
Oh,
who didn't?
Was this an upper decker? See, if someone broke into my house to take a crap, I'm gonna think as you, Cleet.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you an upper decker. You just wait.
First thing. But anyway, that concludes the Hinterkaifeck. So again, thanks, Bo, for the suggestion. wherever you get your material in the deep, dark trenches of the web. I appreciate it. Keep sending them in. And if you have anything you want us to cover, you know where to get in touch with us. We'll post it in the comments there. We love doing this. But I think that kind of wraps things up. So,
as always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next week.